Hi, my name is Georgina Sear, and I've been doing a lot of videos on YouTube and Facebook about natural health. I'm a certified herbalist and natural health consultant. And anyway, I have a lot of clients who've been asking for a little bit more information on specific topics to do with health and just specific information about different issues. And so the one that's been coming up lately for people is what they can do for high blood pressure. And high blood pressure, also known as hypertension, it's pretty much everybody knows what it is. And so things that you can do that are naturally helpful for it. Of course, stress is probably number one. There's also genetics, and so we're going to work with what you have. If you can't get away from your stress and your genetics, then things that you can really do. A lot of it is diet related as well. That can be very much. That could be helped. I know that a lot of people really don't like to be told what they can't eat, but there are many things that you can do or take or eat to compensate for things that you eat that you shouldn't, or things that you drink and you shouldn't. And so, so things that really, really help is you want to get that circulation going. And so things, when the circulation is going, then it opens up the blood vessels. So say, for instance, cayenne pepper, or any kind of chili pepper, cayenne pepper, specifically cayenne or capsicum, is taken internally. It assists in the circulation. It's a circulatory herb, and so it'll go through the whole body. It will go into the arms and the extremities. It'll go out to the skin. It kind of pushes open the all the blood vessels, and so brings the blood to the skin surface. It's really great in the case of migraines and headaches and that kind of thing, because it's pushing up and out and it's getting the circulation and the oxygen and everything flowing. So it's a good circulatory herb. And when the circulation starts opening up out towards the extremities, it's opening up more blood pathways, so to speak. So, basically those little tiny blood vessels and capillaries that are, as we age, they tend to contract, and we we tend to shrink a little bit, like in every which way. And so it helps to open those up, and to, when it opens up the new roads, new streets and new freeways, when it opens those up, it allows the blood to flow further, right? So thus lowering the blood pressure. So, and that's just one way of explaining it. I mean, I'm definitely not explaining it in the scientific way of how, it really works, but basically that is what the cayenne does, is open up those blood vessels. So, anything else that you can do that will assist in opening up the blood vessels, assisting in the circulation, will help to lower it as well. Garlic is another one that's really, really good. It's also antiviral, antibacterial, and so many fantastic immune system benefits, but it also assists with the blood pressure. So a combination of cayenne and garlic is amazing, like on its own, for high blood pressure. Now, be aware that if you are on any high blood pressure medication or any heart medication, you cannot do cayenne in any kind of a medicinal dose at all. So because it will assist in lowering, like opening up those blood pathways, and it'll assist in lowering the blood pressure. And so if you're on blood pressure medication, you can't do both at once. You have to be under the guidance of your doctor or a certified health practitioner to be able to make sure that you're being monitored, right? Because you don't want to create a double blood pressure drop. Like, you don't want to do that. Can be a little tricky with the garlic as well. I mean, if you're just eating it in food and you're on medication, it probably shouldn't be a problem. But a lot of people will take like a garlic supplement, like a garlic capsule or a cayenne capsule or a cayenne tincture, and that's where you cannot mix that. There's so many contraindications with herbs and drugs, or in this case, even herbs and foods. I mean, sorry, medications and foods. So, but anyway, those two things work really well. If you are not on medication, they're really, really helpful. Potassium is really good. It's a good one for lowering it naturally. It balances the sodium potassium ratio, and it helps to relax the blood vessels for the blood flow. So it's just relaxing, right? Magnesium does that too. Magnesium relaxes all of the muscles, and so it just helps with that elasticity of the blood vessel walls, and just really helps with the nerves, relaxes the nerves. Magnesium relaxes everything, and so it's helpful in that way too. And again, if you are on medication, you could go for foods like that. So if you want to go with potassium foods, of course, bananas. Most people know that bananas have potassium. Figs have potassium. Your beans. Most beans have some potassium. I mean, many of your grains have potassium too, like brown rice and buckwheat and that kind of thing. I mean, oatmeal is really good because it has so much fiber, has some potassium, I think, but it's mostly the fiber that helps to open up the blood vessels. Like they say, fiber lowers cholesterol. Well, the fiber doesn't get into your bloodstream, right? The oatmeal is not going into your bloodstream, but what it's doing is it's basically opening up clearing the intestine, small and large intestine, which opens up the freeway for all of the other things that we accumulate, toxins, I guess you could say. But it allows everything to move more freely, thus releasing the pressure on the whole rest of the body that is trying to move things through, through the lymph and the congestion. We can get so much congestion, especially if you're doing dairy and that kind of thing. We tend to get more congestion, mucus congestion, and toxic congestion, especially if you're not having regular bowel movements. Then for sure there's a toxicity buildup, and so the oatmeal helps with that. And so the whole thing, it's like kind of pulling the plug on the bathtub of pull the plug on the bathtub, everything drains, and then eventually everything drains right down to the blood vessels, which is kind of sort of in a really casual way of how that works. So the other thing that helps with high blood pressure is essential fatty acids. So that would be like your omega-3s, really good. They're anti-inflammatory too. Like they will help to reduce pain and inflammation as well. And they just help the blood flow more smoothly. They help everything move more smoothly. So you can do like a flaxseed oil if you wanted to. I mean, there's lots of omega-3s in your nuts and seeds as well, and so that's really, really important too. And then, like I was saying, stress is like huge, because when you're stressed, you're contracting. You're holding in and holding on, and just running your adrenals like high speed. And so deep breathing is really, really good. Meditation is really good. All that kind of thing. Exercise obviously is really, really good. It's stress reducing, stress releasing, and good for the body overall. It helps to move the lymph, and it helps to move all the circulation, and so all those kinds of things are really helpful too. So there are many things. There are many things to do. I mean, it really boils down to vegetables, and more vegetables, and add some fruits in there and some nuts and seeds. And that's because there are so many benefits to eating a whole food, plant-based diet. It's just super helpful, right? Your broccoli, your green leafy vegetables, all those kinds of things are just so important. And then also, you've got your salt intake, which I don't even want to go into that too much, because there's so much so many rules and regulations around the salt intake, but let's just say that if you're eating a whole food diet of real foods like real fruits and vegetables, and you're not eating a lot of canned or packaged foods, that's where your bad salt's coming in from the canned and packaged foods, really. And so you've got they're just loaded with salt, and I think most people know that. So just try and stay on to adding your own salt into real food, slow food. And then and things that are helpful are switching to a Celtic sea salt, which is more of a mineral-based salt. It does not have as much of the salt. It doesn't have as much of a salty flavor. It's more of a mineral-based salt. Himalayan sea salt is really good too, more of a natural salt. And some of the things that are helpful, I know it sounds a little strange, but if you watched any of my other videos, you'll be familiar with the different types of seaweeds that can add some salt. You can add natural things like tamari, Tamari, is like a natural based soy sauce-ish something that you can buy, and that's way better than soy sauce. And then there's also Bragg's soy sauce. It used to be called Bragg's liquid aminos, and it's a naturally fermented thing in place of soy sauce. But those kinds of things you can add to the dish rather than salting before you eat. Like a lot of people salt before you eat, and you really should not need to do that. The other thing it has like a really nice salt content is miso. That's another fermented, really good for you flavor. Well, it's not a flavoring. It's a fermented soybean, but it's something that you would use to flavor. You're probably familiar with miso soup from the, Japanese restaurants and that kind of thing. So try to go with real foods and salting with food rather than using salt itself. So celery. Celery is amazing for arthritis. It's also good for high blood pressure. It is, if you juice the celery, it's really helpful. And so if you're making soups and that kind of thing too, to add the celery in there is very beneficial. So anyways, just a few thoughts on blood pressure and things to do, because I've been asked a lot of questions on that lately. So I thought I would just put in, my 2 cents. If you want more information on health and tips for healthy tips and lots of really easy, fun recipes for healthy foods, check out georginasear.com. Okay, we'll see you later.